We'd like to welcome you back to the Glover Report right here on WPB Networks. Special thank you to Frank Johnson and to our engineer, Darnell. Although he's a Dallas Cowboys fan, he does excellent work, and we will forgive his mistake in the realm of professional football. Next up, we have, to my right, Christina Flowers. She is the modern day Harriet Tubman. She is all about, matter of fact, Big Daddy would be pretty proud of her too. She is all about helping feed and house the homeless. Belvedere?
Belvedere Assisted Living in Belvedere Homes.
Belvedere Assisted Living, Belvedere Homes. How are you, man?
I am well today, and yourself?
Blessed by the best.
Awesome.
No need to be stressed. Keep your head to the sky. No need to cry, because ain't nobody going to listen no way.
Awesome.
Okay. And to my left, we have another gentleman. He's a hellraiser in the Park Heights community. He will bust anybody in the head when it comes to protecting the community and the integrity of the community. One of the things that I'm most proud of as it relates to Will Hanna is he's essentially introduced or reintroduced or made famous this whole notion of, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Land banking. Who talks about land banking? Nobody talks about land banking in the black community. Not to us. They talk about it in closed door meetings in suburban areas and suburban venues, but nobody's openly talking about land, property in the Park Heights community. For instance, let me just give you this scenario. I was once told that from Pimlico Race Course all the way down to Washington Boulevard, they were looking to get rid of all of the black people. Is that true?
That was a part of the master plan that was created.
Getting rid of all of the black people. And that made me listen. So when I found out that Will was doing land banking, that he was making noise about this Park Heights Community Development Corporation and the millions of dollars that are supposed to be going to Park Heights. And these dollars are not. They're not. You can go to Park Heights. Once you hit Park Circle, straight on up. Name one area of redevelopment. Name one block that you see scaffolds out front. Name one. And when they did have some areas that they wanted to renovate, they instead did a park. Is that right?
That's true.
I got the story a little twisted. All I know is people don't need a damn park. They need a house. They need a bunch of houses in Park Heights. And money. Here's another thing about Park Heights. My God brother's church is up there. When the Preakness comes, black businesses can't even do business. The Jamaican restaurants can't even let people park in front of their doors. Now, who in the world is running Park Heights? That's why we got Will Hanna here. How you doing?
I'm glad to be here, Donnie.
How did I do?
You did well. Did well. One thing I do want to correct. In reference to land banking, I know there's different theories about what land banking is. What we created is the Affordable Housing Community Land Trust. So it's a different concept and it's different model. So
But what's the land trust?
The land trust, what the land trust does, an Affordable Housing Community Land Trust, what it does is it maintains affordable housing for 99 years. It is a HUD product, and it is an anti-gentrification tool that can be used in our communities to protect our neighborhoods. So we created the first one in the state of Maryland in Park Heights, particularly because of the implementation of the Park Heights Master Plan, which was somewhat disingenuous to the current residents of that community.
They lied.
In other words. But the thing is that it creates a lot of opportunity.
And there were a lot of elected officials in on this. And as Will was making noise, they quietly eased away, backtracked. No disrespect, he's a friend of mine, but Sean Turan, have you heard from him?
Haven't heard from him. Well, he's no longer in office now.
He's no longer in office, but Kathy Pugh, Salima Marriott,
Lisa Gladden,
your best friend,
Nathaniel Oaks,
Nat Oaks,
Jill
Carter.
Well, Jill wasn't a part of that board, and I think what
Jill Carter was not a part of
was
that
not a
board.
part. What we're talking about is the Pimlico Community Development Authority. And that organization is the entity that controls the money that comes to Park Heights. That is the
What
fund.
money?
Okay.
Y'all get money?
When we talk about the money,
They get money?
okay, so here we go. Park Heights, since 1976, has received what was called the Racetrack Impact Fund.
Racetrack Impact Funds.
This was a fund of
RIF.
about $500,000 a year that came from the Pimlico Racetrack for development projects in the Park Heights community. So back to 1989 and on up, there was about $13.1 million that was allocated from the Racetrack Impact Fund. In 2012, due to the slots legislation, the Racetrack Impact Fund was given back to the Maryland Racing Authority, the Maryland Jockey Club.
Who gave it back?
State elected officials authorized those funds to no longer, and this was authored by Delegate Sandy Rosenberg.
What?
Now, this was because of the slots legislation. Now, for those that don't know, the slots that you see now in the state of Maryland was a result of Senate Bill 3 in 2007. In 2010, when the first slot machines opened, Park Heights, in that legislation, gets a piece of that money because they leveraged the racetrack in it. So a percentage of the revenue since 2010 comes to Park Heights. And they created that legislation now for the next 25 years. That Park Heights that money is allocated to come to Park Heights. Let me say that. So in 2011, there was about 981,000 in the first year of the slots. In next year, there was $6.2 million, and then last year there was $5.5 million. All of which was allocated for Park Heights from the slots revenue. Now that money's sitting in housing's account.
Housing.
What?
Not to mention now.
What happened to the community?
No, here's the other thing. There was
What kind of chicanery is this?
if you add that,
This is some bull feces.
you add that, you add the $13.1 million, the $981,000, the $6.2 million, the $5.5 million, then you add the $7 million on the bond for the Park Lane Shopping Center, that shopping center at Park Heights and Cold Spring. You add that $7 million bond, which the city said that those funds are no longer available. Then you add the $11 million for the roundabout that was supposed to create at Park Circle. That was federal money. That was stimulus money that President Obama allocated in 2010.
They took President Obama's money?
$11 million.
Democrats.
Democrats.
These are all Democrats.
All Democrats.
Vote for the Democrats. Keep on listening to that chicanery.
So you add that, it totals about $48 million right now in within the last decade that was allocated for Park Heights, and nothing's been developed in Park Heights. Out of those funds, let me say, out of those funds, none of the $48 million.
Are you
Over
just
the last
pulling
decade.
out legs just
all-
because maybe you lost the election and
Listen.
you just ain't got nothing else
I
better to
did-
do?
We never thought we were going to win the election, first of all. So
So
it was basically to prove a point.
It was the what and
That was the proof point.
That
The point is that we wanted to identify and make our elected officials accountable and saying, look, you are accountable for this money. The state elected officials, our federal elected officials, when you have federal money that comes to a community and nothing happens to it,
not
city comes
Elijah
along.
Cummings.
Okay, I'm talking about Elijah Cummings, Ben
Not
Carter,
Elijah
Robert
Cummings.
Smokes. I mean, whoever is in office,
Oh
who
my!
has been in office since 2010, is liable for this $11 million that is sitting there. That's it. When you talk about the state money, you're talking about not only the elected officials that sit on the PCDA board, which are Kathy Pugh, Lisa Gladden, Sean Tarrant, Nathaniel Oakes, but then you also talk about council members. Because once that money comes from the state, it goes into the city's budget, and the mayor then signs off on the spending.
Not Stephanie Rollins Blake.
Every year.
She was on national TV. I gotta say this. I gotta. You're being interrupted with a word from our sponsor. This is a public announcement. If you do public speaking, this person right here does not have a script in front of him. I do not have a script in front of me. This lady does not have a script. When you go on national television, why are you reading the script? It shows you don't know what you're talking about. I've now returned you to your regularly scheduled program.
Wow.
So, Don, what we've done is we said we're not going to rely on what the government does and doesn't do. Our responsibility is to protect the community. It's to protect the people of Park Heights. Not only that, for the entire city. But so what we've done with the Affordable Housing Community Land Trust is created a vehicle for people to protect their homes, one. But also, this is in a way to incentivize and spur development. not only did we create the land trust, but we had to create our own funding mechanism to fund that activity. So we created a real estate investment trust, the Baltimore Land Trust Development Group, which the state has approved, and it's documented that we have now $50 million in stock to capitalize to begin to spur our own development. So while we can work with private investors, private developers, raising that capital on our own, we don't now need to rely on the state to do it for us.
Okay, let's shift gears for a minute. Now, you out here helping defeat. Well, let me back up. Do you have any questions for him?
Accountability.
Absolutely.
Where is the accountability? Because the numbers that you put out is very interesting. And I heard some comparison. So it's real important because you definitely are knowledgeable about things. Where do you feel like the accountability is coming from right now?
The thing is,
What's
for
happening
the
in
past
that area?
for the past few years, there's probably been maybe 5 people that have been loud about it, that have talked a lot about it. When you have 5 people and you have 100
You
people,
think you're number 6?
I was number 1.
All right. Okay.
I was number
He
1.
was number one.
Number
You know,
one.
so
And he's put his money where his mouth is.
And
He's sacrificed. I think
Wow.
he's personally sacrificed his own livelihood, his own well-being to push this effort forward. Easily he could be using his skill set to just develop houses and make money, but he won't
That's a
shut
bigger
up.
picture.
He will not shut up.
you know, the thing is we have a responsibility.
And this is after the election.
That's right.
You feel me?
We have a responsibility, and our responsibility is to hold them accountable. Now, there are resources and ways that we can hold them accountable, but people have to understand what those resources are. When you can do a Public Information Act request from the community and get that documentation and put it in front of their face and say, this is what you're accountable for. A lot of times our elected officials don't even know what to be accountable for because we're not giving them anything, or we're not asking for anything. And if we can put something in front of them and say, this is what I'm telling you that you're accountable for, because a lot of times they'll say they don't know. They'll say, well, I knew nothing about it.
Never knew.
When you can show them and put it in front of them and say, this is what we're talking about. This is the $48 million we're talking about. And we have that today.
Wow.
So,
You know, one thing you have in Park Heights that we don't have in Sandtown anymore is a community association. Ever since Martin O'Malley came into office, the Sandtown Winchester redevelopment project, well, that thing got unfunded and kicked out to the window. They buried that out Arbuda Cemetery.
well, I'll tell you, even as it relates to Sandtown, I mean, a lot of those people that worked in Sandtown now working in Park Heights. You know, you have Sonny Tubman, who's at Park Heights Renaissance. You had Luvon Dungy, who was doing a lot of development in Sandtown. He was one of the developers. Now he's doing development in Park Heights now. You know, but the thing with what they're doing is they're doing market rate housing that prices out the community. You know, when you're selling homes in a community whose average median income is $34,000, and I'm being generous.
Who does this?
I'm being generous.
Who does this?
When you're selling homes at 160 to
Why sell
210,000.
something that the people can't buy?
Because
why,
it's not-
why not get them funded so they can sell affordable? What happened to that buzz term? Affordable housing.
Well, see, that's the whole premise behind creating the Affordable Housing Community Land Trust. It's not based on comps in real estate. It's based on the average median income in the community. So the community dictates what you can sell real estate for. Not like real estate where you sell 3 houses in the community. Now that becomes the comp. You sell 3 houses in the community at 160,000. That becomes the new comp. And not only that, your taxes become based on that assessment. Okay, when you have it based on the community's AMI or their average median income, which we know is 34,000, we know that those homes should sell between 80 and 130,000. Okay, because that's what the community can afford. In that case, we just did the first land trust property in Park Heights, and you know
When?
we had an open house on it the first week of December. That house sold in 15 minutes because it was sold at $119,000. A brand new home in Park Heights sold for $119,000. And it's the same house that they're selling for $160,000. So we understand that there are some opportunities that we can do.
How can
when
that
they
house
can.
go for $116,000, but if that house was down in Fells Point, it'd be worth $200,000?
It's based on
I'd
comps.
rather live in Park Heights than down in Fells
Exactly.
Point, because Fells Point is a flood zone. It got flooded last time they had a big hurricane.
Well,
flood.
it's all that goes to, and real estate people don't like this, you know, but
It's a flood zone.
But when you base it on comp-
it's racist. How do a house in a flood zone? How is that worth $200,000 when a nice house up Park Heights is only worth $100? Why?
it's not that it's worth that much. It's just that's the comparable price that they get for
It's
it.
a flood zone.
But it's the same house.
It's the
I can take
same
the
house.
same house. If I
Isn't
could
it
pick that
racism?
house up,
Isn't that white supremacy
But watch
at
this,
its finest?
if I could pick that house up out of Park Heights and set it down Fells Point, a real estate person would sell it.
For $300,000.
Absolutely. Same house.
There's some chicanery going on. We got a majority black city. We got more black elected officials than ever before. And I tell you, it still seems like 16 years a slave.
Like I said, we have an opportunity now because what we're able to do, the city's not able to do. The city actually, with their vacancy value program, can offer some incentives on the back end to home buyers. And that's great. That does work. What we're able to do is we're able to add those incentives. I can issue a fair market tax deduction to an investor today for the value of their property. That's how we're able to keep the price down. And there's a ground lease agreement that puts a covenant on that land that maintains that affordability for 99 years. That's recorded with the state. So it goes beyond what the city can do.
Sounds like
goes
a
beyond what the
big
state can.
mess.
It is. I mean, what the city's, I mean, everything that that the city has put forth, you know, and while vacancy value is a good program, it doesn't have the incentives that we can give it. So now in working with the city and working with the vacancy value program, I can front load those incentives and then the city can give the incentives on the back end. And that's how we got this property done in Park Heights. And that's how we'll do the other 44 that we're getting ready to do in Park Heights now.
No.
Well, let's talk about what
Wow.
you do. Yeah, you over
All
there,
the great work you do.
you over there helping homeless
No,
people, hungry people. Where'd this passion come from?
Well,
Were you homeless?
just like Brother Will here, you know, we stumble upon things that we are totally responsible for. And March the 7th, 2013, I-83 encampment, when I stumbled upon the 12 individuals who resided there for like 5 years. Like they were there 5 years and left. So basically it took demonstrating leadership and moving these individuals. But then it opened another door for me because I had to become knowledgeable in things, funding, money, who's responsible for these 12 people.
How come they've been here so long? So basically, I-83 opened the door for me to get involved, to identify something.
What happened? You were out partying or something?
No,
and you just,
someone.
So a couple took me over to an encampment. They took me over to where they lived there
You
for
didn't
5
believe-
years.
oh.
I didn't believe it. That was
Oh,
the
you didn't
first time.
believe it.
I couldn't imagine people
Never would have made it.
living outside like that. So, and downtown, like right in the heart of Baltimore City, the jailhouse, 83. Like I just couldn't imagine.
People left individuals outside like that for 5 years. So it just took me on a quest.
You ain't from Baltimore, are you?
I'm mixed, Baltimore and some Southern. So I got a mixture of both. So,
Southern as in.
South Carolina, Myrtle Beach.
Oh, so you got a heart. The people from Carolina,
Yeah.
they all unconditional and love and
Yeah.
stuff. They different than the people in New York.
Yeah.
People in New York, they give you liquor, but they won't give you no food. The Carolina people give you all the drink and food you want. But you're going to church on Sunday morning, you bet all the tea and china on that. So how's the progress coming with your program?
Basically, you know, I am a 501c3 non-funded program, and it just takes continuing efforts to make people aware of homelessness and the fact that individuals are homeless by force, not by choice at times, and basically accountability. Like, it's not a lot of accountability in Baltimore City when it comes to our vulnerable population. Like, people does not.
And this is all. Let me get you. You say there's no accountability in Baltimore City.
No accountability.
Now I got a little bit of problem with this. Baltimore City. You said there's no accountability in Baltimore City for the homeless. Now I say that because hold tight. Baltimore is a 9-1 Democratic town. Now I thought Democrats were supposed to take care of the little guy. But like I said in a previous segment, when I walked down North Avenue has not been touched in my lifetime. I'm almost 50. Coppin has a little something going on. North and Howard with the little arts thing, Station North. But the majority of North Avenue, the black part, Hilton and Milton, nothing. Nothing.
No accountability.
9-1 Democratic town. And I say that because we got a new Republican governor. And the man hasn't even been sworn in yet. And there are all kinds of acts and deeds and plans to thwart his progress. But I'm saying, where were these same soldiers for the community when Martin O'Malley was taking out lunch money every 90-day session? Where were these same leaders when Stephanie Rollins Blake will do something like put, I don't know, $10 million on a Grand Prix downtown?
Wow.
But can't find $600,000 for the recreation centers. What's wrong with this equation? What's the benefit of being a Democrat in Baltimore?
Mismanagement.
Somebody lying. Okay.
Mismanagement. When you think about, just like when you think about the mismanagement, last year you got $3.7 million that was mismanagement in homeless funds.
Oh, they got to pay the feds back $4 million.
And basically,
where that money at?
It's no accountability.
Where that money at?
You're talking.
Somebody smoking crack down there. Who can't find $4 million?
Yes.
I know crackheads that will find that money.
Exactly.
Where that money at? And that's 4 that they got caught with. So that means there's more than 4. Where that money at?
The total grant, I think, for that program was like $9.5 million.
Yep, $9.5 million.
$9 million.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats. Mm-hmm. Black Democrats.
Well, when you
I would vote for a one-legged pigeon with dyslexia before I vote for another person who won't be accountable. That's what Marion Barry was all about. To this day, Man for Life, they love him in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he endeared himself to the people. Who's endearing themselves to my people in Baltimore? Who? He has named a litany of people who haven't been accountable, but they show up every election cycle for the people. We the people. Living for and dying, all this for the people. Lies, lies, lies.
A different vote. That's what it was. It needed to be something different.
What are we going to do?
I mean, like Brother Will say, we got to be creative. You know, as entrepreneurs, just like with me now, you know, there's a mission to end homelessness. Like, not to make it rare and brief, homelessness can be ended. If I can do over 200 individuals, housing them since March the 7th with no funds from any outside forces, it can be done.
Uptown, a week ago, I saw them again today, one of them. People in Sandtown, not 83, in Sandtown, walking around
with bags
with
and
blankets
carts,
on.
Blankets.
You know somebody homeless when they got a blanket on, because that hawk was hitting, and you can't have your little thin coat on you. Blankets.
Yep.
That's the sign of homelessness, right?
Yep. Carts. There's a lot of signs of homelessness, but we got to work together and be creative, and as entrepreneurs, bring ideas to the table. Like right now, we're doing an initiative, building our own funds to be able to house homeless people through the network. To be
You already house some.
Yes, we're housing them, but now I have collaborated and partnered. That word that, you know, some of our city officials is foreign. You know, people, they kind of afraid.
Hold up. Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, like you got to collaborate and partner with people to work on a mission and get it done. So this is real important that now we work with other small businesses to make awareness that homelessness exists and it can be ended. But we have to pull together and end it and work on an initiative to work together with other organizations to get it done. And we can't look for our government or our state to solve this problem. We can't. Like, it's something within that you have to be passionate about.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Christina Flowers and Will Hanna right here at WPB Networks on the Glover Report. Special thanks again to our engineer Darnell and Mr. Frank Johnson, the founder of this very fine network. Stay tuned and we'll be back on the other side.